Welcome to Flying Upstream, the podcast where we uncover the choices, practices, and wisdom that defy mainstream conventions. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Louisa. And together we're here to illuminate the alternative paths that have shaped human experiences through the ages. In each episode, we'll examine ways to move beyond societal norms. We're passionate about how timeless wisdom and unique lifestyle choices can foster healthier, sustainable, and enriching lives.
Join us as we navigate, challenge, and celebrate the beauty and insight of walking the road less traveled. If you've ever felt like you're flying north for the winter while everyone else is flying south, you've found your flock.
Free spirits, welcome back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast, the podcast that dares to defy the norm and challenge the mainstream. Today, we have the honor of featuring a truly inspiring guest, Martie Smith. Martie is a renowned resilience ambassador, international award-winning author, and a bilingual coach and mentor.
Martie's journey is a testament to the human spirit's incredible capacity for resilience and transformation. Having faced numerous traumas throughout her life, she has emerged stronger than ever, turning adversity into opportunity.
Join us today as we dive into Martie's inspiring story and learn how she has overcome the challenges that have now become the force for positive change in the world. From her experiences as a U.S. veteran to her successful career as an author and coach, Martie's insights are sure to inspire and empower you to live a life that not only defies the norms, but is also fulfilling at soul level.
Get ready to be inspired as Martie shares her strategies for building resilience, finding your purpose, and creating a life of meaning and fulfillment.
Martie, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's always an honor, a pleasure, and a blessing to be able to share my story with so many people that perhaps are out there going, I can't this, and it's too late for me to that. And I took off like a bat out of hell after the pandemic. I had a major transformation. It wasn't just the mind, the body, and the soul. It was like, I don't even recognize myself. My husband feels like he married someone else, but he's very excited because it ended up being a better version of the original. However, he's been through my thick and thin and my best coach, my best friend, and we've been married 42 years. So I know that is what's taught me all about resilience as well as he's put up with me. I was a mistake when I was 7 years old. My mom said that I was not planned, that I had been a mistake, and that was like the driving force for me to say, one day I'm going to prove to myself, maybe nobody else, that I'm worth something. And so I was always looking, and my saving grace was learning. Like I loved school because in school I was recognized as achieving things and being recognized to express myself and everything. But when I'd go home, I was like a third class citizen, just be obedient. You can't say anything. You can't complain. I've moved 49 times in my lifetime. And being bilingual, and I was raised in the Spanish environment. However, I learned English before I did Spanish. So right off the bat, I was against the tide for not knowing my native tongue. But at the same time, I was grateful because I was very versatile, very flexible with everything and we always moved in the middle of the school year, which was really traumatizing for a child to try to fit in, and let alone not really sure the culture or anything. So I've had an adventurous life, to put it mildly.
I love you are already flying upstream from day one. I love
Yes.
it. You had the fire in you. I love it. So, Martie, help us understand. Take us back to the beginning. You've shared a little bit about your early life and what kind of got you started down the path that led you to become who you are today.
This I didn't know. And this is where the innocence of a child and trying to be their own counselor with very little experience, you just piece all the limiting beliefs in your head and saying, okay, I understand this part, I understand this part. But I say my teachers, even no matter where I went, I always was the obedient kid. I was always the A student and everything else. So I always had something to achieve and be recognized for there. So I say my saving grace was learning, and those teachers recognized me. But now that I look back and reflect at my whole life, there was blessings all along, only I was miserable in my cage of I don't know good. I don't know what to do. I'm not pleasing everybody. I wanted to please everybody, but I couldn't because I didn't know what I wanted out of me. And I didn't know that the thing that I lacked the most was loving myself. When I learned that, when I took courses of empowering during the pandemic, instead of me focusing on all the negativity, I started seeing all the blessings. And I wrote the book with the intention of creating a horror novel. But then I felt like I don't know, I felt like the voice of God said, okay, there's enough hell going out there in the world. You want to share more hell? Or do you want to use what you've lived to share with the world, to see that no matter what happens, no matter how much you fall, you bleed, you sweat, you cry, you can pick yourself up and take off and be a miracle that you are. So that's the version I went with. I wrote Resilience Nourishes the Soul. And in there, I went backtrack to all the times I had moved, all the times that I had missed all the blessings that had been there. But I was so blind by my limiting beliefs that I couldn't see the reality of how blessed I was. Now that I acknowledge all that gratitude, it's God, what am I complaining about? Yes, I was in a wheelchair. Yes, I've had 27 surgeries. Yes, I wasn't able to walk for a while, but all along, God would put in the proper instruments for me to keep going. And I just didn't realize that until the pandemic hit and I started writing and expressing myself. I think that's what was missing in my life, not the ability to express myself. That was what was blocking my success.
I have a question about that. You shared about the book and how you had this whole idea, this whole path of how what you were going to publish and what you were going to put out there, and then God spoke to you. And I think that sometimes it can be so subtle, the way that we understand the way that God speaks to us and the way that we're guided, right? I wonder for you, what essentially made you feel like, hey, even though this may not be the path of least resistance in terms of a horror book may have probably sold more, may have been more easily accepted, right? What made you choose the path of potential least resistance by following that guidance that you felt you received?
The fact of so much negativity focused in front of me. I have so many people dying. Even my own brother passed away from the pandemic. It was like, enough, Marty, you've already been down this road. When you were in the wheelchair, I think I was having flashbacks of all the reasons why I had been severely depressed. When they told me you're not going to be able to stand for more than 10-15 minutes, my legs turned into wet noodles. It's a nerve condition that's called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So it's like my autonomic nervous system short circuited. So I couldn't innervate the signals that my brain was sending to walk and hold myself up. So it's like they just go away, and my body was just sitting there wet noodles and wanting to fall apart. Plus all the major surgeries I had. I've had both ankles reconstructed, my knees, and everything just like I've been butchered to death in my eyes of my dilemmas. However, that's when I felt God say, okay, yes, you went through hell. Yes, you survived all this. Yes, you were in a wheelchair. Yes, this, yes, that, all the negativity. But look at you now. Look at all you've overcome. Look at all you surpassed. Look at all that you cursed. That is your blessing. That is your saving grace. Now go out and share it with the world. Now go give people hope. Now go give those people that think they're old and they can't do anything because they lost their career, they didn't pick the right one, whatever. I've been a veteran, an Air Force veteran. I was a radiation therapist. Oh, I got a college degree. That's it. And no, but it wasn't meant to be. However, in the radiation therapy, when I was going through there, those patients, those cancer patients, especially the children, taught me about life. And when they would sit there and go, I want to see my mom smile. I want to see my dad tell me a joke. And all they come in here is cry and be depressed. And I was like, boom, that wake up call. Marty, what can you change here? So I was always the cheerleader, the everything that I wish someone would do for me. but I was given so much. I left myself without the supply to continue. With the book, I started seeing that the abundance of blessings was there, and all I had to do was share it little by little. And I published the book December 2022. I won an award in January 2023. My father-in-law passed away December of 20, the very hour that I was publishing the book, he passed away. And I remember him seeing him in the hospital saying, "You're going to be somebody, you're going to do something. And I want to read that book and I want to know what you changed." Look at me now. I won an award 6 months down the line for a woman of heart, a humanitarian award. Where on God's green earth did I even think that writing a book would get me there? Not only was I nominated, but I got to be awarded that thing. I picked it up in England. Meanwhile, in Ireland, there was another award for me, Women of Story of Global Impact. And I went, oh my God. So tell me that God didn't open up the doors. He opened up the windows of opportunity and he showed me that what I had decided was the way that I needed to go. That's why I do what I do. And that is the legacy I want to leave to the world. That even though I wasn't able to have children, I used to curse myself for that. Oh, you can't even give your husband that's been there with everything, and you can't even give him children. And then God has a way of showing you, just because it doesn't look the way you want it to, doesn't mean he's not doing it. I became a Sunday school teacher, a catechist for 35 years. Those children that were 8 years old are now married and have their own children, and it followed in the footsteps that I never thought I'd see the fruits of my labor. So people, we all are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit. We are a miracle. Each and every one of us has something to share uniquely and independently, whether people believe it or not. That's a whole different ballgame. And that's where I come in. I come talk to you and say, okay, yes, you've been through all that, but where, look at you now. You're still alive. You still got your senses. Where do we go from here? How do we change that narrative? How do we proclaim that we can continue and be perseverant? Whew, okay.
That was amazing. So much
So
passion.
beautiful.
I love it.
I can't hold it back. It's just like when it's this good happening to you, and this is where money is wonderful. It helps people, because I was rich when I was little, but rich in the wrong way. In my book, what I was missing was now everything God has given me and allowed me to enjoy. And so if people come into this environment that yes, we could do it, and things will provide, that God provides, or opportunities if chosen properly with the right clarity and the right attitude of positivity instead of negativity, then you're already out of your comfort zone and launching into creativity. And that's what I promote.
It's amazing. I want to go in a little bit of a different direction. In your journey of resilience, how would you reconcile the idea of healing with the notion of forgiveness? And do you think forgiveness is necessary for true healing, or can it exist without the other?
I think it's a process. Everyone goes through it differently. But I myself, after my mom had called me a mistake, and I never forgot that, guess who the black sheep of the family was? Me. But guess who was the one to see them off before they left this world? I had come back to my mom. I had come back to my dad. My dad had Alzheimer's. And for the first time in my life, I felt a father's love. And he was not communicating. It was more like his reaction. Wow, he's smiling. He's feeling like my presence, and I'm feeling acknowledgement from him. Mom was a little slower. She ended up having cancer. So I see where God gives you the tools, even though you don't see the production of what you've done. Eventually it comes to you, because in learning how to treat cancer patients, I learned to treat my mom and help her. And I think that was the beginning of the healing process for me, as well as the forgiveness, because I would have never come back had I not got all that processed in my head. But I see that God has a wonderful way of showing you things that we don't see, because we're so blinded by emotion, by unsettled differences, or anything else that we put in there. We can't see the big picture and say, okay, this happened. No, we don't. Well, let's agree to disagree, but we can still exist and be acknowledging that they're family, be acknowledging the figure they play in our lives. And there is a reason why we go through everything we do. And that's the part that we need to look at differently, because we don't heal if we're stubborn and hurt and don't see anything good about anything that's happened with those relationships. But the book was a catharsis. I healed, I forgave, and I forgave myself as well. And that was primary too. Forgive yourself for having been so ignorant to not see all the blessings and everything else, because I didn't know. I didn't, no one ever told me what I want to tell the world.
Martie, I love that. And I love that because of where I want to take it next. I think this is something that's a little bit can be a little bit controversial. I think people have different perspectives on it. Some people believe that the constant exposure to adversity can be harmful rather than beneficial, right? What role do you think God plays in that? Because if constant adversity can be harmful rather than beneficial, then why does God make us, and whatever God, for whoever's listening, whatever, however you refer to your God, to your higher power, whatever you call that higher power, why does that higher power ensure, basically, because that's what it feels like for a lot of us, especially with what's going on right now across the globe, ensure that we go through these adversities?
I think life is a lesson. It's a constant lesson. And I don't think many people can say that they've lived all their life and not learned anything from it because one reason or another. But in why do these things keep repeating itself was my question. Why is it that I got a career? Yes, I'm gonna graduate. Yes, I'm the only one in the, and then boom, I get hurt. No, career over. Why? Wait. And you're like, why me? But why not me? Why not me? And those are those tests. It's like you're going in for round 2, round 3, round 4, and until you finally understand the reason why you face what you face constantly. I started seeing the patterns repeat themselves, and I was like, my God, it was me. It was me creating that momentum of saying it's not going to work. I was already giving up before I started because I was using the one experience as the pattern for the rest of my life. On the contrary, that one experience was the lesson I never understood. That was the lesson that kept repeating itself until the pandemic hit. And here we go again. And no, I'm not going to be Debbie Downer. No, this isn't doomsday. No, the world is going to continue because we have what God gives us to continue. Bring it down to it's not about me. It's about how to deal with the adversity. How does this help me? And how will this help those around me? And how can we change the world? Because all of us can be a game changer. No, it doesn't have to perpetuate. No, it doesn't have to be a life cycle of generation after generation go, oh, that's how my grandmother, that's how my mom, and that's how and that's how my children. No, we can stop where we are and look at things from a different angle, change our perspective, find all those lessons that God is putting in there. And when you start letting all that register, your creativity goes and you're like, okay, maybe I can't do it the way I've been doing it. Maybe I need to do it a different way. Maybe I need to be around the people that inspire me to see the gifts I don't have. And that's exactly what's happened to me. I feel like I've won the spiritual lottery. That's all there is that I see. And the right people came into my life, and they are those little angels that God put along the way that I had never noticed before. And I was like, wow, I need to calm down and regroup and see all the hugeness of my life because I didn't know how to look at it before. But I think that's what God does. And until you get the lessons right, that's when you start receiving the blessings. But it's always going to be, I'm always reminded, and I will tell you, yes, I got out of a wheelchair. I became a personal trainer. I lost 70 pounds, 70 inches. I did all kinds of stuff. But at the same time, recently, I pinched a nerve in February of this year. And I have handled the whole situation a different ballgame. The old Marty would have said, see, I wrote a book and now I can't continue because my pain is so grave. And no, The pain is a reminder that you learned your lesson. Now, how are you going to let that enhance what you're sharing with the world? And that's what we need to do. And no one teaches that. No one teaches it. It's you got to go get to school. You got to go get a family. You got to go get a title, this, that, and the other. Teach us the practicality of it becoming and dealing with adversity. Teach us the fortitude, the perseverance, the values, the virtues, and everything that we can stand on our own 2 feet and say, not today, not today. Maybe last time, maybe the other time, but not today. And that's how I feel now. And that gives you confidence. I'm telling you, if you had seen me 10 years ago, you'd have said, bless her heart, she's not gonna make it. That is God telling me that's He's putting the light in me and saying, look at you. Look at you. And it's a shame for me to even question that I had a rough life because I see the people that really lose their limbs and they're incapacitated, and yet they go to the Olympics. Yet they are the living example of resilience. So me, I'm just a little pin compared to those people. Those are the ones that inspired me. Those are the people that inspired me because I had no reason to complain about anything I was going through.
On that path, something that occurred to me is that some people might say resilience is a privilege that not everybody has access to due to systemic barriers or just life experiences, social norms. What is your take on this perspective? And how can we bridge the gap for those that are really struggling?
Okay, and this is where we're all born with that little seed of resilience. And I think how we nurture our situations, the adversity, whatever it is we handle, if we learn how to make that seed bloom and say, okay, I can look at things from a different angle, I could do different things, then that resilience is already developing. When you find the right sources around you to read about how it is that we control our emotions, how it's got everything to do with our control of what we do with what we have. But at the same time, I say each and every one of us is born with resilience. The problem or the difference is we don't know that we have it. And when we have it, we don't know that we can enhance it by looking at things in a different way when adversity happens.
I love that. And so you do coaching and work with people who are going through these big transformations. Like you've gone through a couple of different times in your life, beautifully, obviously, because we see the outcome today. What are one or two things that you would share with someone who is in the midst of a transformation or at the beginning of one? Because sometimes we don't know that we are at the beginning, or right when we're in the middle, we're like, can I actually make it? Am I going to make it? This is too much. We talk about resilience, and I know it's a beautiful thing and it's important. But when we're in the middle of that race, what are a few things that you would say to someone to help them come along and keep going so that they can reach that journey, so that they can hear God's calling?
My realization when it hit me is okay, all right, there's a rhyme and a reason why we go through everything we do, and I'm starting to figure it out that yes, it was how I believed about certain things and how my definition of what was reality was not the truth of what was happening. It was just my version of seeing it. Okay, when someone goes through that, the first thing you have to be willing to do is to change. And once you change, you're already stepping at it into that uncomfortable zone. But that is when your picture, your vision gets bigger and you see the lay of the land. Okay, I've never been down this road before. Wow, look at this. Maybe I could try this. And mistakes make you or break you. It made those mistakes made me because they made me say, okay, I didn't quite get it there, but let me try it over here. And so it is be willing to transform, yes, not be afraid to go out of your comfort because that's where you find all your flotation devices. That's where you find the resources that you've not seen, that you've been blinded because you were in that comfy zone where you had your blanket and your whoobies and everything else, but you weren't exposed to how to deal with all these things that come at you. We cannot, and this is definitely a proof because I've lived it, we cannot fend off adversity. The worst thing to do is fend it off. Why? Because when you don't address something, it stays in there. And then the slightest little trigger of something that comes at you that resembles that starts making it a bigger nightmare. And then you lose sleep. And then you get anxious. And oh my God, I'm not going to make this. And then you get those people that say, oh, I understand you. And the people that you surround yourself are the reflection of who you are. And so when you surround yourself with the right people and they're the ones telling you things that you say, and I will say this because my friends are a witness, you're crazy. You think I could do that? I'm not William Shakespeare. I can't write a book. And oh, Marty, you'd be wonderful at public speaking. Oh, heck no. I don't even want to meet new people. And now the proof is there. That's when you get out of that comfort zone. Yes, it's a dare. It slows your heart rate to a craziness, but you still can make it. You got to be brave. You got to be bold, and you got to be daring. And that's the difference between dealing with life and not.
You just touched on this concept of vulnerability. I want to dive a little deeper into that because many people equate vulnerability with weakness. So, how would you challenge this belief, and what role do you think vulnerability plays in the process of building resilience?
Vulnerability is what taught me that I was able to do much more than I had given myself credit. And in the same time, that built compassion, that built empathy, that built the idea that, wow, if I know this about me and I understand that it's on in other people, we can find a way around it. And yes, I'd say that a lot of the people say at one point in time, and I think it's changing, that vulnerability made you weak. Oh, no, we shouldn't cry. Oh, don't be a fool. Everything, the reasons why we shouldn't. But no, on the contrary, when we're authentic, when we spill our feelings and get them out, that clears our head. That gives us the idea of what is our why we want to do what we want to do, and we find a way to do it, and we surround ourselves with the right environment to get it done. So no, it's not weakness. It's a badge of honor.
So beautiful.
That's true. We can forget that because in this capitalist world that we live in, we're taught that our emotions come second. We need to do what we need to do first. And then at the end of the day, if there's time, you then think about your emotions and so forth. And I think what that does is dim our authenticity essentially because start losing who we are when we don't even know what we're feeling, we don't have or take the time to express our emotions. We start forgetting how to identify them. We kind of start forgetting what they mean. We start forgetting how they impact our lives and the small decisions that add up to our life. And I know that for you, I mean, you have one heck of a story, right? You've been through so much. And here you are, extremely successful, coaching other people through these major life transformations, helping them see the world in a way that is going to benefit not just them, because that's the truth, right? When we change internally, it's not just ourselves that is possibly impacted, it's everyone around us. We affect change by going within and by making the changes within ourselves first. With everything that you have shared, I would love to know from you what helped you steer this path that is now basically allowing you to help other people. What was it besides that resilience that had to be inside of you and within you at all times? What was it, and what could help other people steer that ship so that they too can continue to do that work that's going to cause that life-changing transformation that you offer to the clients that you work with?
First of all, it's to take a look at themselves and take inventory of how you deal with anything. And one of the things that woke up my wow moment, my shift, was when I was taking all these empowering courses and they asked me, and this was, oh my God, why are they asking that? Give me 10 adjectives that describe you positively. And I was like, oh, I was like, I didn't have anything, but that reaction showed me that I didn't know myself. So introspection, when you know what your why is, what your mission, your passion, and your purpose are,
Yes.
you definitely see a different light. You definitely feel a different confidence, a different expression of who you are and how you feel. And then your authenticity comes in, because then you see, wow, that's in all these things that happen to me, I see them reflected in other people, and they're as they're going through it, and I was like, I can that resonates in me, and let's take a look at it. Let's just write down all the pros and cons of which, and usually what ends up being what was for me, the cons are very minimal, but those are the ones we focus on, and the blessings are the pros, and those are the ones we don't see because we're blinded by what we've created in our mind is a block for what our actual life and thriving in a fulfilled way is.
Marty, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of your amazing insights with us today. As we start to wrap up, I just want to acknowledge that I know our audience has taken away a wealth of life-changing tips to help them steer in the direction of their own path. So as we wind down, we'd love for you to share with us, Marty, what's next for you and what else are you currently in?
I guess being in the Air Force gave me that dare to do, and I'm daring to do things that I never imagined I'd be doing. And one of them is helping the youth. We're creating an environment for people that are in that transition. They graduate school and they're not sure where they want to go. What Yes, the careers are wonderful if you're a doctor and a teacher, but that's not what I want to do. So they start questioning. Like they feel forced to go have an education, but what they really wanted to do is something to express themselves or whatever. So we're dealing with startups of people that want to come in and take a look at their career, at what they want to do with their life, and find their why, find their purpose, find their mission, their passion, and everything. And then go, maybe I have an idea that I haven't quite created. And I'm partnered with someone in Germany. Her name is Deanna Joyce, and she is a super ultimate coach that she came because of one of my interviews. And I'm like, okay, see, God, you keep going and you keep showing. So that's what we're doing. We're dealing, and it's called, and this is cute because I have always been a rebel. So it's called Disruptive Rebels. We're going against the norms. We're not saying that you have to this and you have to that and you have to this. We're asking you what it is that you see yourself doing, what it is that you want to create. And maybe you have an idea that you're afraid that it's not good because it's not what the trend is or whatever. No, we're going to help you examine it, dig out the pros and cons, and go with it and develop it into a business, and teach those around you, your children, your family, anybody, that they too. We want to start with little kids, and that's another thing. We're writing a series of books. That kid with the lemonade stand can be an entrepreneur from day one. And can you imagine a 5-year-old opening up a cookie stand or whatever, and then being ready to graduate high school? What is he going to do with his life? And it's simple stuff that we learn after the fact, or I did. Now it's, let's bring them the tools they need to grow, develop, gain freedom to do the things they want to do. Bring along the idea that family is what ties us together, and thrive and make it sustainable for generations to come. Pass the torch, pass the knowledge, and make this world a better place, and leave it better than you found it.
Amazing. Marty, thank you for joining us today on Flying Upstream. Free spirits, we hope today's journey has left you inspired to think outside the box and maybe even walk a path less traveled.
Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And as always, don't forget to follow our amazing guest, Marty. We will link all of her links in the description and in the podcast notes. And also, don't forget to join us next time so that you can continue to enjoy as we explore incredible stories like Marty's that are full of courage and innovation.
Until next time, keep challenging the ordinary and flying upstream.
All right, free spirits, that's all the time we have for today on Flying Upstream.
We hope this episode sparked your curiosity and ignited a desire to explore the extraordinary paths less traveled.
Even when the current feels strong, a whole world of possibilities awaits.
We'll see you next time on the other side of mainstream.
So keep questioning, keep challenging, and most importantly, keep flying